the first official reading of Where Time's Eye Shines Bright. Not the full published version, but give it a shot. My chicken's walking in here. Look at her. The house chicken got attacked by a hawk 2 years ago, and she's been living inside like a old family member ever since. What's up, Lucy? Lucky Lucy. Her right eye got hit by that hawk, her nerve, and she's blind in it. So just saving them all out here. Let's see. I think this is very fitting to start reading this. I have my first chapter I'm going to read, and that's as far as I'm going to get because it's not published, and there are some revisions that need to ultimately be made, but I feel pretty confident about this first chapter remaining pretty much the same. So it has a little bit to speak about in my last video about my father and things, so kind of, sort of. We'll see. Chapter 1, Where Time's Eye Shines Bright. As my weary eyes opened on that May, Michigan morning, I sobered up quickly to the raw reality of the day. As last night's cold ones and goodbyes fluttered in my head like a kaleidoscope of butterflies, I was reluctant to move a muscle. I knew when my feet touched the floor, I would have to carry on with the creation of what germinated in the fertile soil of my restless mind and was brought to life in the basement of this old house. 3 months earlier, while sitting alone in the darkness of my sister-in-law's living room on a frigid February night, my plea for salvation came with resounding clarity, offering hope in my sinking frustration, feeling like an orphan child lost in the world with no place to call home. The voice of the unknown rang in my ears. Build a trailer for your bicycle, pack up the pups, and get the hell out of there. Wake up and go make time for time. Later that night, as I lay in bed, those words echoed in my head. I tried to think of an excuse not to obey, but I couldn't live like this for one more day. Even though I had no idea where to begin, I laughed and thought, here we go again. So the unraveling of my monkey mind began, and the vision of freedom walked in like a long-lost friend. On the morning we left, looking at the time machine, that's what my friend called it a few days before we rolled out of Ludington, I had just brushed on the second coat of polyurethane on the trailer as we stood and stared at the final creation over an ice cold one and a fat doobie. It was mostly made of wood with homemade metal brackets and was 5 feet long, 3 feet wide, and flat. I was clueless about the physical and mental demands it would require to carry us away into a new day. I just thought it was a crazy cool DIY project until Jack stepped back, laughed, and said, You know, Danny, that thing is a freaking time machine. There's no telling where it's going to take you. His pot thought struck me like a lightning bolt of righteous revelation. Jack and my brother, Robbie, had been best friends since high school, thick as thieves. I was 12 years their junior and had always looked up to both of them because they were forever laid back, cracking jokes, but were willing to dish out the tough love when necessary. What do you think Robbie would say about all this? I said. Jack smiled. He would call you an idiot and then tell you how proud he is of you. I'm taking some of his ashes with me, I said while glancing over at the fire pit, where you could usually find him sitting in a lawn chair, feeding the fire and playing the radio well into the night. Jack must have read my mind, because he said, I miss him too. It's just not the same around here without him. He looked at me for a few breaths and asked, What are you looking for, Danny? I mean, what do you think this is going to prove? Listen, man, I keep playing by someone else's rules and keep getting left behind. I'm rolling the dice. Snake eyes be damned. That's funny. I've decided to let the sour fruit of my frustration wither on the vine and sow a new seed into the fertile soil of the divine. Jack laughs. That's heavy, man. Anyway, left behind by what? he said as he took a drink of his gin and tonic. Everything I stick my nose into, like college, marriage, and jobs. Plenty of people figure it out, but not me. There's an angry hole in my soul that I can't console. Something's broken, so I'm going to do something different because none of this American dream nonsense is panning out, and I'm not going to lay down and die for anyone or anything. Jack stared at me for a few breaths, put his hand on my shoulder, and said, I hear you, Danny. Destiny or dumb luck, who in the hell knows? Keep rolling the dice and eventually there'll be a lucky 7, right? I laughed and said, maybe I'll call the time machine Old Lucky 7. Then the thought came like a flash of lightning, and I looked Jack in the eyes and said, it's the trailer and the bicycle working together that make the time machine, man. Just like there's no up without down or no night without day, they need each other like two brothers. Jack smiled, took another drink, relit the doobie, took a long pull, exhaled above his head, and said, I envy you. You know how many people dream about doing something off the rails like this? I know, but sooner or later we've all got to stop dreaming and get to doing. His prophetic proclamation cast light on a long-time forgotten dream from my distant past. Holy crap, he just gifted me the last puzzle piece of this winter's long inquiry into my human existence. The realization ignited a fire in my belly to get this show on the road. It was as if the curtain had split and revealed a sliver of an opening, offering us a way to pass through. This contraption, which I built from wood and metal, was fully loaded, weighing over 200 pounds, and sitting patiently harnessed to it were Hoss and Queen, my holy rolling hounds. It looked like a serendipitous serpent ready to strike at the illusion of time. With a deep belly breath and a long sigh, I knew this was my newest lover. Hop on board, big guy. It's time to ride the tide with nowhere to hide. The vision of a dream and the demands of the world were at eternal odds. What's the difference anyway? My left eye, your right eye. Who's looking through the third eye? Aren't we just living to die instead of hoping to fly? After loading up and saying goodbye to my sister-in-law and thanking her for inviting us to stay for the last year, we rolled down to the Longfellow Towers, a few blocks away. I needed to say one last goodbye to my 67-year-old mother and pick up enough oatmeal raisin cookies to feed a small village. As we rolled up, Sandy Jo stood on the sidewalk, waving at us in front of her apartment building. She cradled a gallon-sized plastic bag loaded full of the promised treats while leaning on her treasured Tennessee hickory walking stick. There wasn't another soul in sight, and the morning was clear and bright with a cool breeze whispering off of Lake Michigan. As the time machine lurched to a stop, I said, well, here we are, old lady. Can you believe it? Sandy Jo softly laughed from the depths of long ago. It was the kind that left me feeling seen and heard once again. Oh, Danny, I'm not surprised by anything you do anymore. How could you? You taught me everything I know, old wild one. Her mischievous smile beamed like the rays of the rising sun. She would have never been accused of being willing to follow the rules unless her hand was forced. She was forever making up her own. Some were justified and some were plain selfish. She was much tamer now in these later days of her life. My mother leaned forward, gripping the walking stick, and gently stroked Queen and Hoss's heads. Queen, the elder, was a Dachshund, soul sharing the body of a small pit bull. Hoss, the young wild one, was a German shepherd trapped in the body of a beagle. They were both standing and wagging their tails without a clue about what we were about to do. She reassured them that everything would be fine. I found myself lost in the presence of 3 of the most precious beings I'd ever known. While standing there, I experienced an unfamiliar peace for the first time in my 37 years of being a human, because I realized I owed her everything and nothing. After a hug, I turned to leave, but then she gently grasped my forearm and said, wait, son, I have something for you. She reached into the right pocket of her baby blue sweater and handed me her gold St. Christopher medal. Her best friend, Peggy, who had recently given up her ghost, gave it to my mother when she followed her dream of moving back to Alaska 15 years ago. It was tarnished. The eyelet for the chain had broken, and on the back was inscribed, "Follow your dream." 10 minutes to read that. I stood there, staring at the metal in my hand. What dream would that be? I've been living in one for as long as I can remember. What I was seeking was my reality, not someone else's dream. Sandy Jo had been my teacher of what to do and, more importantly, what not to do. Consequences and repercussions abounded in her dream. Sometimes, though, people had to pay the price while she scooted out the back door unscathed and seemingly unremorseful. It could have been anything from unpaid personal loan to stealing painkillers from patients at the nursing home where she had worked. She found herself in hot water more than once over that nonsense. Sandy Jo knew what she was doing, but that wasn't the point. She was carrying on with her childhood inherited conversation, which was a wrecking ball in her life. I'm not good enough. I don't belong. I have no choice because this is who I am. What is a dream anyway? Isn't it the innate human desire to be someone else, with someone else, or to be anywhere else but here? At that moment, the weight of reality was heavy, considering I might never see her again. She had not treated herself well over the years, and her health was poor at best, but now she was reaping what she had sown. Nonetheless, her story was hers and hers alone. I said, Mom, of all the crazy times we've had together, I thank you for always being there when it mattered the most. She smiled as tears filled her eyes, and she squeezed my forearm even harder, more so allowing me to find my way when you knew there was nothing else you could do. I never realized you were walking your path, too. I'm sure sorry, and I love you a whole bunch, my friend. I know sometimes life isn't as easy as it appears, she said as she looked up at the sky. We looked at each other and silently agreed that the long overdue debt had been paid in full, with just one last hug and the familiar aroma of menthol cigarette smoke locked in the fabric of her sweater reminded me of the old days. I straddled my two-wheel pony. Before rolling out of sight, I looked back to wave goodbye and let loose a spine-tingling holler. See you on the other side, old wise-ass one. She stood there, offered a smile and a waving hand. For once, I could see this woman, this human, standing alone with nothing left to offer but what remained of her soul and heavenly oatmeal raisin cookies. As she leaned on the walking stick, the sweetness of my mother's soul beamed with perpetual pride and maternal sadness. She didn't want me to go, but she knew her place as a mother and let me go once again. It was the sweetest gift she had given me that day, her bare humanity and raw-boned blessings. Now tears filled my eyes as we rolled away. So, I read that to you because the project that I even had to take on for one of my last college courses was to create this social media site as an author. And so this is me offering a little bit of my memoir. All true. Sandy Jo, my mother, the first wife of Louis and Oscoda. Pretty wild stories. Yeah, wild. And I'm doing my best to bring them to life. So I've written this memoir. It's 95% done. When I graduate from my creative writing program, beginning of January, that's what I'm diving into wholeheartedly. The very reason why I even got into this program 2 years ago. So, man, I feel super blessed. I'm going to enjoy every day of it, and I'm going to share more of this first chapter. I read you the first 4 chapters, and the first 4 pages, and there's 12 pages. So there'll be 2 more installments of readings, and that'll be it. You'll get an idea of maybe about some of the stuff that I've been making videos about before, and I'm just dedicated to letting people know that, man, you're not alone. And there are ways to move on and move past situations without necessarily burning the whole goddamn village down. Excuse my language. This message is about accountability and redemption through open communication with ourselves and the people around us. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm making these videos. A couple of them have been heavy and super personal, but one of the main points that was made by my professor in the new media publishing course that had me create this was authenticity, you know, or is what you're creating. This is more about the website, which I haven't put online yet. We'll see about that. But this is the same difference. Is what I'm creating authentic? Is it relatable? You know, in a positive way. I could make cynical videos and that would be relatable too. But that's not who I'm. Well, that's who I am speaking to. Actually, I take that back. But you know, anyone, doesn't matter. Um, there's so much more to be seen and heard and felt, without scrapping your life and without doing a lot of things, honestly. And it's just making space and time to see it and feel it and believe it. Man, we got hope. Hope. So, hope you enjoyed the first 4 pages. Really happened. May 21st, 2011 to July 21st, 2011, I bicycled out of Ludington, Michigan on a homemade trailer with my two 45-pound dogs tethered to it, pointed towards California. So yeah, and my relationship with time and computer technology and fossil fuel driven machines, in the 2 months it took me to bicycle 1,700 miles, only 1,100 of it. I think I mentioned that earlier in the video, but nonetheless, it was all and everything in between. Wow, my relationship with time has never been the same, and I'm trying to figure out how to speak to that in a coherent, fluid way. I'm trying to get there. It's just another conversation to have in the world that we live in. Be in control of what we have. Be in control, yes. Be in control of what we have and allowing other people to be in control of what they have. And learning to allow those two things to intermingle together without upsets and without stuff that may or may not even matter. But you have to look at it first. And that's why I'm here. So please stick around. I feel like I'm getting a little closer to refining what I'm trying to do with this message, and all the authenticity I wanted to say, though, is I'm committed to not editing these videos. I'm just speaking like a normal person through a fluid beginning and middle and ending, and I may stumble over my words, and I may do whatever like we all normally do when we're talking. I'm not an actor. No, I'm not an actor. And so this is what I feel is important. Is not everything's perfect. Sometimes we don't say things the way we necessarily want to say them, and we can be responsible for it, and then redo it, learn from it, and move on, and be an example of how humility can play a huge part in how our lives go and how the lives of other people around us go. Right? It's right there. Almost touch it. So close. Stick around. We'll get there. Me too, because I'm not on the top of the mountain talking down to you. Oh, God, no. 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 Nothing like that. I'm no teacher or preacher or anything else. I'm just someone who got a message about some things, and I'm just delivering them. That's it, and sharing myself along the way. And maybe one day you'll see a couple things published and you'll say, I remember that crazy video of that one dude. Hey, peace, everyone. I sure appreciate it. From my heart to yours. Thank you.